Let me tell you a story about the origin of the Iteso. The Iteso originated from Djibouti thousands of years ago. The first generation of the Iteso was called Itunga, a semi-Hamitic group that was born by Oduk. The Iteso had 6 major clans: Ikariwok, who were leaders and fighters; Ikomolo, who were foretellers; Irarak, who were gatherers; Igoria, who were builders; Ikatekok, who were peacemakers; Inom, who were doctors. The current generation of the Iteso is the 12th. The Iteso is a hunter-gatherer group that also herded cattle, goats, sheep, camels, and poultry. The second generation of the Iteso was called Omongaise. This generation originated its name from a great herder who led a group of Iteso from Djibouti to Eritrea, where they settled. The third generation of the Iteso was called Okori, named after Okori, who led the Iteso from Eritrea to Ethiopia, where they met the Oromo and gave birth to the following Itesos: Ingorok, Ididinga, Idongira, Lotuko, Jie, Toposa. The fourth generation of the Iteso was called Itikiro, named after Otikir, who led them from Ethiopia to along the banks of River Nile. Some also settled at Morukinyet and Lolibai, a region full of shrubs in southern Sudan. They later crossed to Moroto in northern Uganda, where they now came to be called Iteso, a name coined from a group of young men who said Ite so Ibaren, meaning they were on the move in search of pasture for their animals when the old men said they could no longer move because of old age and decided to settle in a place currently called Karamoja, occupied by Karamojong in Uganda. The fifth generation of the Iteso was called Ijureta. This group of Iteso moved from Karamoja to the present-day Teso land in Uganda, which begins from River Iriri, the boundary between the Iteso and Karamojong. This river was so steep and slippery that some of the Iteso, together with their animals, drowned and got carried away by the strong waters. Those who managed to cross over called themselves Ijureta. They settled in Katakwi district in Uganda at a place called Moru Kabila, where they built an altar for giving thanks to God for enabling them to cross the steep and slippery river Iriri safely and for overcoming other numerous problems in their movement. The sixth generation of the Iteso was called Asonya. This group anticipated floods in their movement from Katakwi to Soroti since there were rivers that fed Lake Chioga between them. So they were adequately prepared for the challenges they met on the way. Asonya kept cattle, goats, sheep, and poultry only since their camels succumbed to the harsh and hostile weather conditions. The seventh generation of the Iteso was called Ilemelemen. This group crossed the river Auja along the boundary between Ngora and Soroti districts in Uganda, led by Okapel. They settled on the eastern part of River Auja and on top of Kapir Hills, while some spread to Kumi district in Uganda. Some still moved to Palisa through Akadot, Kanyum, and Mukongoro. The eighth generation of the Iteso was called Ibwangeta, named after a place called Kabwangasi, where there arose war with enemy tribes over their settlement in the area. The ninth generation of the Iteso was called Imodingo. This group moved from Kabwangasi and settled on the slopes of Mount Elgon towards Mbale, Uganda. The 10th generation of the Iteso was called Ikutai, named after a tree called Ekutat from which farming implements were made. This was because this group became traditional farming. Ikutai settled in Tororo, Uganda and its environs. The 11th generation of the Iteso was called Arionga. They crossed the Uganda-Kenya border into Kenya around 1706 and settled along the border in the present-day Tesoland in Kenya. This generation of the Iteso went to school and got formal education with the coming of missionaries who brought with them civilization of the West. The 12th and present-day generation of the Iteso is called Emory More, which means unity of the Iteso all over the world. This may help us understand that we actually are one family at a care.